So, morning everyone. Morning. Is my screen shared? Hello. Wait. Okay. Okay. It's shared. Okay. Are we good? Okay. Sharing your screen. Sorry for the delay. Okay, that's it. So good morning everyone. Welcome to talent management in in the time of pandemic. Now, normally it takes a month to do this, but for purposes of today, we'll get on the G's. First and foremost, like any most of our methodologies, we focus on the mindset. Now, for today, we focus on realization of the talent management. So we are going to be basically introducing first what is talent management and what is the current mindset of who is taking the lead for the HR, for the top management, or if in cases some of you are already HR practitioners or organizational development practitioners. Um, it's just gonna be a review, but the technicalities because our organization has the 2021 model, which I will show you in brief. But for purposes of today, our discussions will be limited on certain key points. Okay. Now, what was in front of you, for some who has already attended the past courses under me, now these are all the past, the first four are the current. So I'm an SME for Course Belt, a lecturer for Limitless, and then proud to be a psychological first aid. I'm doing volunteer work here and abroad. So ngayon patuloy tayong nagsisilbi sa ating lipunan, and then I'm the CEO of MRRI and the Chief Knowledge Officer of Origanum. So for today, I'm representing the uh, lecture from Oregano because that's my company and that's basically a leadership company. Okay, now again, like any other endeavor that me together with Limitless as part of our one foot forward and extra service, yung doing the extra mile is you can always do a consultation for us from us and then just drop an email, a message with our FB page, or this is I have included already my personal number. So just reach out, just text me kung anong kailangan, and then let's discuss. Okay, now simple house rules. Please reserve your questions for the incoming slide because it might be answered. And then please mute your mic. Uh, just not to disturb because it's just 1 hour, and then inquiries will please reserve that we might be answering already yet, and then if just not to forget, post it in our chat box so we can answer later. Drop nyo lang dyan, and then please learn and enjoy. So I hope it's not gonna be boring because it's very technical, but nonetheless, what's important is the realization itself kung saan tayo dadaan. Now, Harvard Review, BBC, Bloomberg tells you that talent mature organizations, according to so many different studies, uh, manifest resiliency, cost effectiveness, and a far superior output. So that's how critical dyan. Actually, marami ng incorporations dyan. So as you can see, it is a framework. So it's just like a basic structure, but it affects the 360 operations of both operations and employment. Kasi hindi lang basta employment, the whole life cycle. So that's how critical talent management. But sad to say, just step forward, no, just moving forward. In the actual practice, sometimes it is the first thing that we let go. But nonetheless, sabi nga, at a certain maturity of the organization or the company, they see the value. So, one biggest example niyan is McDonald's. There is a McDonald's University doing this for them. So that's how critical. You have Coca-Cola University, you have the Shangri-La University. Ganun katindi yung mga preparations nila doon sa strategic talent management nila. Now, there are three major effects that in the issue of human capital has trended out because of the pandemic. Ano yung mga nag-trend doon? Number one, there's a great pool of talent. Anong great pool of talent? Dumami. So, dumami in what sense? Number one, there are companies who had to close, or there are industries that had to close, but they had a great pool of talents. HR practitioners, accountants, lawyers, so on and so forth. Madami yan. The example is the hospitality, which greatly affected ngayon medyo nakakabawi somehow, is the airline industry, the tourism industry. So, and then you as a corporation, I don't know if it happened to you, but we'll go on. There's a self-check test at somewhere in the middle. So, please take note of that. If you're the HR manager, then the CEO comes to you or the owner comes to you, oh, paano yan? Nag-ECQ, nag-MECQ, nag-GCQ, we return to ECQ after a year. What do we do? Do we retain? Do we let go? I know for certain corporations under our consultancy program had to terminate their consultancy, their contractual obligations for outsourced labor. So you can just imagine that. And then now, with the pandemic in mind, with the dilemma that's going through your head as an HR manager, as an HR practitioner, you as an owner, ano nga yung retention program? Retention in the sense na how do you retain great talent? And then how do you go around with the mindset of still those on board? Kasi marami na anxiety. So you just could imagine. Ngayon, in the practice, greatly we exercise yung retention. Pero with the pandemic in mind, two things happen. So going back to the dilemma, I can let go because we need to, but in cases I need some, ang daming makukuha sa labas. But that's the problem. They have to train them. They have to go to the full recruitment thing. And then if they retain, you retain naman, do you negate certain hours in order for everybody still has a job, or you terminate someone for everybody to still retain a complete set of working hours? So very complicated and very emotional. So we have courses here in Limitless that might help you with that. So please have time to look at it. And then two important aspects of the operations. Yung lalo na if you're going move +5, +10, kasi some experts are saying that the pandemic will last around 5 to 10 years without a stand-alone vaccine that can resolve. Ngayon, critically, what's happening, like for MRRI, we're in the business of the vaccine. We're dependent on the research, lalo na ng mga ginagawa ng mga ating mga kasamahan. So that's very, very important. Now, part of that, number one, is yung operations. How do you continue? Just a very, very good example is the restaurant services. I used to work with Jerry's Grill when I was there. Everything was booming or increasing stores. Now, just for purposes of example, the IATF requires now na al fresco ka na lang. If your restaurant was in a mall, inside the mall. How can you suddenly take away all those windows or those glasses? That's a problem. And then, syempre, you don't look at the pandemic as a lifetime. So one day, everything will go to normalcy. So, tapos yan. And then with all of this execution, syempre, talent, reward, salary, operation, so and so forth. How do you align with the business objective on top? Syempre, every company wants to earn. But now, just to note, where is it going or how are we complying? And then syempre there is always that a touch of the legal aspect. We'll not dwell on the total legalities, but we'll have to touch it because of its processes that has to undergo. Remember, again, talent management is a framework and also a very long-term strategy. Tapos, ang dami niyang tatamaan. Kaya some mature corporations, you will take note, there is a separate talent and leadership development team. Meron pang separate na dito, organizational development who has to collaborate with these two. At kung talagang mas mature na, some corporations even has on top uh, for corporate expansion who has to collaborate ngayon three. So that's four departments already. So I just imagine. And then there is always that issue of the possibility of downsizing. Sa lalo na ngayon sa nagdaang pandemic. So it's very critical that it does happen. Syempre, it's also an eye opener. Do you stop? Do you stop the bleeding and then save the business? So yun yung ganyan. So now this is a specialized subject because this is intended to participants who, in the long term, if you're the owner, if you're the HR, how do you strategize or you formulate your own strategy to keep talent? Kasi baka ang gusto mong mangyari, less people, high performance, less cost, high earnings, or high output. So kaya ganun yung ating framework. Now, you have to also take note, these are human beings. So you have to keep them motivated and then keep them in high gear. So you have to have a very, very good understanding of the external and internal factors that affect and syempre at the end of the day manage disadvantages for the corporation. So yun yung laro, andun yung tinatawag namin to some HR practitioners, where is your play? That's how we do it. And then, syempre, our objective, number one, you have to have the concept of talent management. Now, remember, and you have the concept already, you have a little framework to work with. Now, then the supply time, you apply your own strategy. Every organization may have some things in common, but you have to customize it accordingly to your business objectives, culture, and then yung learning objectives also. Kasi we'll show the models and then in their progression, but for purposes of today, we'll focus more on one model muna. Okay. Now, yung critical is that you have to identify if there's already red flags. So why do I had to use the word red flag? Normally for young organizations or corporations, humahagip lang. Just parang idea pa lang but not really for implementation. It's not even part of your strategy. Ano muna, ako as an owner, in my experience, you have to sell first, you have to expand first, and then you have now to engage. So, makikita natin yan later. Kasi once there, baka you will have a stage of plateau. So, kaya nga, every organization will undergo that. Up and down plateaus, it will be there. I promise you that. Out of my 21 years of practice, no organization is exempted from such challenges. Now, if you are one of those already practitioners, Probably it's maybe time you could recalibrate your current interventions. Kasi nga meron ka ng may pandemic ka na eh. So, halimbawa, PPE, so should shoulder. O baka naman you can make an exception, meron ng work from home. Or magulat ka, from the operational side of view, mas cheaper pag work from home kasi wala ng utilities so and so forth, but you still get the same output. On the other way around, baka naman mas expensive kasi hindi mo nakikita, hindi na nga same output, hindi mo ma-check. So, we have a separate subject for that, but nonetheless, just to show you to the two sides of the coin, what are your interventions? Kasi pag work from home, how can you motivate someone who's already away from your eyes? You cannot even touch. Paano pwedeng tawagan? Kamusta na? How are the kids? How are you? Pero who's going to do it? How can you emotionally relate? So, mga ganyang issues. So, it's gonna be a very tedious program. But nonetheless, I promise you, if it's done correctly and it's customized correctly, very good yan. Okay? And then, sorry, a balance between internal promotion and hiring from the outside. Talents, especially now. Just a slight lang, just to advance an idea. Pag internal promotion kasi, the person who's gonna be promoted is someone who already familiar with the culture, familiar with the operation. But if it's not working, then you go to especially kung biglang nawala, biglang nag-resign, kinailangan mag-resign, or it's the person has to be terminated, pag naman sana, you need to hire from outside great talent. But this guy is expensive and then doesn't know the culture. Ang advantage lang nun, he can categorically and objectively decide without emotions being incorporated in his decision. So there's a great balance that you have to go through. Then, let's do a self-check. So, I hope if you are already a HR here or I hope you are working or ikaw naman ay bagong graduate o graduate pa lang, I'd like you to ask this yourself. When you go to work or you're gonna apply for work, did you research about the organization? Well, when some applicants goes to me, especially for MRRI because it has more than 250 employees, I get myself involved. But part of the questionnaire, syempre, hindi na kaya ng oras ko yung ibang I go down the line. But I make sure that at least somehow I'm part of it. One thing I look at it, just a tip to the newly grads is, did you research about the organization? How did they start? Kung ikaw yung HR, yung aplikante for HR manager, did you even try to know them? Kasi syempre, or regardless of whatever position, did you try to know? Tapos, sa side naman ng HR, when they get onboarded under the new employees orientation program, did you tell them? Okay? Because at the end of the day, how it was incorporated at the very beginning tells a lot about the culture of the organization. So it also spells out how can it last. So malaking bagay yun. Ganon. So now another self-check for you. Yeah, for the individual. So I would suggest you take down notes. So para pagbalik nyo sa inyong mga kumpanya, you have time to think about baka naman kasi remember, talent management may be in the top level decision making, but the planning and the inputs are going to come from the bottom. So from each department going up, but approval and execution will go top to bottom. So it's very, very dynamic. So here comes the pandemic. Number one, did your company retain everyone? What were the decisions? Bawas ng oras, bawas ng araw, bawas ng produkto. Uh, Tawag dito, try to convert some of its resources to another. Remember, in the case of San Miguel as a model, what they did, because there was a large issue on there's a big issue on disinfection. The brewery converted some of its processes for producing alcohol. Okay, so para walang mawalan ng trabaho. Okay, let's go to downsize. Now, with the pandemic, one of the biggest things that happened affecting the tourism industry, hotels had to close. Airplanes had to close. Not really close, but they had to really put some downtime, relieve some personnel, so and so forth. So, nagbawas ba? Nagpaliit ba? Yun yung ano dyan. But again, this downsize, just again, as another thing that you have to put in mind, was it legally complied with? Kasi may mga requirements yung batas. Okay. Now, interventions. Leaves. Tapos, is your company providing HMO before? O kaya there was training programs, or before an actual start of the pandemic, after the declaration launched March 17 last year, was there training programs? Were there awareness programs for the COVID-19? Kasi these interventions are just parts and parcel of the bigger program, which is knowledge management. Una, retention siya. Pangalawa, increase in knowledge. And then, was there cross-training? Kasi bakit kamo? If you have to downsize and you have to turn down some employment, kailangan may sumalo ng trabaho. So, gano'n dyan. Ngayon, you're literally doing multitasking in multi-positions to some. So, kaya we need to be very careful since the pandemic taught us if we have to downsize, was the knowledge retained? Or was the talent retained? Or was the talent being shared with to another individual? Kasi nga, dumating sa puntong kailangan mo magbawas. So now, question is, now, after so that, ano na yung mga interventions? Nag-digitize ka ba? Nag-cloud ka ba? Ito pinaka yung mga masakit, tinanggal mo yung iyong sales team because now, or pinaliit mo yung sales team because everything now can be done. You opted to Lazada, you opted to this delivery service, couriers, so and so forth, mga ganyan. And then, it also tells you in documentation or profiling. It's very good that we have one of the proud things I'd like to share with you guys is like for Limitless is teaching the competency profiling. So, ako as an audit practitioner, napakahalaga nung performance management system. Is your company conducting a performance appraisal, annual or semi-annual? Tapos, syempre, ito ba ay nakadocument? Meron bang performance improvement plan? Meron bang tawag dito, total rewards management program? You promote, you increase salary, or meron pang performance bonus before? Ngayon, ano na, for this pandemic, that now serves as a catalyst or a basis for retaining, improving, or for your decision making. Masakit man o masakit naman talaga if you have to downsize. But again, for purposes what? In compliance of the law. So very critical yung performance management system, especially now because from time and again, kung hindi nagpa-practice ng time and motion, okay. Sir, ma'am, why are you putting out all of these many practices on the table? Because number one if you have these business objectives, these business objectives must be coupled with the talent management. And then the talent management is based on all these facts, all of this information about performance, about sales, and so forth, that is intricately complicated. And then, one good thing about it is that there is no hard and fast rule in terms of interventions. Each company has their own way and they can formulate their own way of interventions. So makikita natin yan mamaya sa framework. I'll show you the 2021 framework. So maano na yan. Makikita nyo why I'm trying to settle to you first, realize what's the actual practice, and then what are the things that could signify or technically be your red flag para for you to transform. Okay. This is the most basic na talent management model. Okay. So, the idea is you attract great talent. If you already have it, you can retain them. And then, syempre, at the end, mature organizations engage. But, ang sinasabi kasi ni Peter Senge sa 50 discipline na for you to have a very powerful and very effective talent management, it must be a learning-based organization. Meron siyang culture of learning. But in order to get that, you must have an effective recruitment process. So, andun na yon, yung recruiting, interviewing. Kasi at the end of the day, you want someone who's technically and culturally fit to your organization. Then you have a retention program who can retain them by training them, engaging them, motivating them. Kasi at the end of the day, they will be engaged. And then at that engagement, remember, these are the guys, these are your lieutenants on the ground. Itong mga talent na ito. And you are the leader na dyan. So, you can just imagine that these lieutenants or these captains is the one doing the deliverables. So that's how critical yan. Kaya kung at the beginning, sabi ko nga sa inyo, it's a 360 effort. Actually, to put more emphasis, it's a continuing effort. But sad to say, yung training and talent management, especially for young organizations, these are the things na medyo nakakalimutan. Pero mature organizations, this is what the things we can learn from them. Marami ang yan. Now, just for us to be guided, meron na pong April 9 na according to our society na definition. So, talent management, number 1 is a constant process. Remember, of attracting and retaining high-quality employees. Kasi gusto mo nga konti, pero high output. But in order to motivate them and then keep them involved, you have to update their skills. And then, syempre, continuously motivate, not only of money, but also internally. Dapat instinctively and intrinsically motivate sila to keep their performance. And later on, we'll discuss that. Kasi at the end of the day, talent management wants to create a workforce that will be there for the long haul, for the longest operation. So that's the April 2021. Just sharing with you the latest. Now, since this is a 1-hour class, I cannot discuss the whole thing, no? But nonetheless, yung beginning natin, we do the formal lecture. This is now the modified one. May dinidiscuss na ngayon dyan yung transitioning. Kasi syempre, if you can identify high potentials, then for promotion, kaya nga meron tayong developing supervisory skills. Kasi once the transition from rank and file, high potential, supervisor, high potential, manager, high potential, senior manager, high potential, junior management, high potential, senior management, then C-suite level. So, ganun ka-importante yung ano. Kaya nga employee life cycle from the moment of recruiting, interview, up to the time they leave. Hopefully, they do not leave because of the program. But nonetheless, it's there. Kasi halimbawa, bakit ganun? Kasama pa rin yung DBM because eventually they will retire. So, part of that, part of the total rewards management is their retirement. Is there an HMO? So, mga ganyan. Is there a loyalty award? So, something, sabi nga natin, yung mga milestones. Milestones. Now, the 2021 model will tell you all of that here. Okay. As you can see, when you talent management for the 2021 model namin, it involves the whole thing. Ngayon kasi ang trend na meron ka ng workforce planning. So, highly involved, syempre, at the end of the day is HR, but you have to work with from top to bottom. So, you have yung capability, competency, syempre, you have to map the competency. So, you have to profile all of them. So, what we do normally is we profile and then we do a curriculum, especially if you're going to be promoted to another position. So, maano yung ano namin, very tedious yung ano. Management, all of those, regardless, you have a leadership development program. Meron pa tayo separate ang issue ng succession management. Bakit? At the end of the day, the purpose of talent management is continuity. Hindi lang basta high output, continuity. As makikita mo, end-to-end, you have the talent acquisition and total rewards. And then how you manage. Yan, di ba? Siyempre, kailangan yung skills assessment, yung mga from your semi-annual. I do recommend that your performance appraisal is every 6 months. Para at least you have an initial and then you have a validation. But nonetheless, again, it's dependent upon your culture. And then you have a culture of learning. So you have a learning and capability development part of the framework. So this is the 2021 model. Pasensya na kung malabo. But nonetheless, we'll have that in the whole course. We'll share with you the, I hope, clearer one. Pero for nonetheless, ganyan siya ngayon ka-static. Pag nabuo mo na, if you prepare the plan, it's 50% done. That's the beauty about this framework. So, at the side, if you are an HR practitioner, kasi part yan eh. Part of their, but with the load of their job now, I'm sure time management, timekeeping, compensation benefits. I have a lot of respect for you guys. I know it's hard, but it's also our job to plan for the future. So normally, for OD practitioners like me, we leave the HR thing muna doon, and then we EOD collaborate with all of the departments and with our first lab HR with all of this. So ano yan, at least with the framework, you have a scientific approach on how to do this. Is this all of these areas mandatory? The answer is no, because it's going to depend on all of your resources also. And siyempre, yung kultura nga at saka yung readiness to accept that there should be such thing. Wala, medyo hilaw sa akin. But nonetheless, this is something that you can develop for your company. Lalo na kung ano dyan, medyo gusto mo ng mas long-term yung ano. But anyway, we're always welcome to talk about this. Please drop us a message anytime kung you feel na you need to go to the details. But nonetheless, we'll have to go through the processes pa rin naman. Kaya, don't worry about if you need to comply with everything. It's not bad if you can follow all of them. But if you look at the base, meron andyan yung ano, malapit sa base yung learning and capability development. So, if you take on the actual practice, the way you determine high potentials is that of their technical skills. Wala pa yung soft skills. So if they get to be promoted and you want them to still be motivated, and they enter like challenges, trainings, and then how do you discuss performance appraisal? Baka mamaya mas lalong ma-demotivate. So something like that. Kaya the base is very important. And then your immediate superior together with your HR is the key person in the developing the framework. Siyempre, kailangan may buy-in sa taas. So, yun lang. Anyway, we'll discuss it in the full lecture. Now, remember, again, it's a framework. So, as any dictionary would retain, common to talent management as a framework. It is a basic structure. Now, when you say basic structure, does it have to be the same for everybody? Some components. That's the main thing. So what I normally recommend to clients is that number one, you have to know your company. And then you have to look at the past. Diba? Sabi nga ni Winston Churchill, diba? In order for you to control the future, the one who controls the past controls the future, and the one who prepares the present dominates the world. So, ganun yan. Ganun din ang framework ng talent management. You have to know what happened in the past so you can recreate the thing you intended in implementing those interventions. Kasi that's the only time. At least may base ka when pinakamaganda niya kung meron pa nga performance appraisal. Kasi some companies would do something like this. May PA, may performance appraisal from hiring on the 6 months. Meron na iba, like when I was with the third largest cruise line, on the first 3 months, there were a appraisal, but not on the actual work itself, but on the behavioral aspect. Kaya mo ba yung i-retain? Kasi pwede mo na siya alisin because in the Philippine setting, once you reach 6 months, they're regular. So, sa practice nila, PA on the third, and then formal PA on the sixth, which you have the PA on the third month as the basis. And then without output tells you now a preparation for your career management. My boss told me what is your aspirations, what's your plans, and dyan. And then up to what position, what specific function do you want to do, and is documented, submitted to talent and development, and then i-recalibrate ngayon yung plan. Kasi it's very, very dynamic. In and out, in and out. Pero dynamic doesn't mean that they have to change every time. You have to first take note and then determine if the interventions are very important, that they will affect the output or the direction of the company. So, parang ganyan. Kasi kung mga leadership positions, very, very critical. But if it's just it's a rank and file position which doesn't involve decision making, is different. Now, bakit ka mo? Kasi at the end of the day, it's a strategy. It's your battle plan every day, how to do it. Maraming framework, maraming programa, maraming yan. Pero, for purposes of today, focus on your attack, retain, engage. Yung basic model natin kanina. So, anong ibig sabihin? Every organization, especially now that you're in the pandemic, you have a rich pool of talents ready to be picked up at any given time. Kasi they need the job. But at the end of the day, you have to also make sure you retain them. Kasi pagka na-onboard mo, meron ba silang self-development? Meron ba silang career development? Are they possible parts of a succession plan? And then, syempre, yung engagement. it's not only the technical aspect that you nourish, it's also the emotional part that you also nourish through engagement. Ano yung mga employee engagement mo? Aside from the training, now recently tinitingnan, I'm sure you are aware, some looks at the HMO, yung iba pa nga, meron pang ano, I'm happy to say na when I was part of that cruise line, there was this parang call for purposes of mental health. Now, now myself being a psychological first aider, I really appreciate what happened there kasi mahal magbayad ng psychiatrist. Just imagine. Anyway, tapos kung meron naka-retain in the house, if there's a retained doctor, nurse, especially now that's pandemic, you just imagine. And then emotionally engaged. So what do I mean by that? I'm not sure again among our participants today. Wag naman sana, how did your company help you when you were found positive, or any of your members, or you have to be absent to attend to a family member, or because you were in an ECQ, were in an MECQ, you kind of travel that far, or did they send you the no? And then did you feel or did you felt that you were part and parcel as a family member of that organization? So yung emotional aspect of the engagement. Because at the end of the day, engage them and then they will do everything for you. So, yun dyan. So, you have now the plan, business objectives, you have now the plan, framework, and then you have now the interventions. You have now also in the interventions, your bases are all number one, the performance appraisal, the profiling, the competency. If you have already a curriculum for all the trainings for each position, much better if you're ready. So you could just see the execution level from approval to share ano information dissemination na strategy, and then ah ang pinaka-importante diyan is yung tawag dito, yung going down the pipeline, yung ating delegation of objectives, and also yung participation of the roles as managers to supervisors to. It's a very, very tricky thing, but when it happens, and then they feel it, they see it, they stay. And then you can expect the best output from them. Maraming challenges kaya okay yun. But nonetheless, the question is how to balance talent management and then the pandemic. It now falls down to your strategies. Kasi at the end of the day, they are the advisory to the top management unless the top management itself is very involved in the planning of the talent management program. So that's very critical there. Now, let's do a self-check para lang you get my point. Okay? Now, number one, is there officially in your company organization a talent management program? Meron ba? Wala. Okay. The question is, posibleng wala? Posibleng meron. May programa, but it touches the elements, but it's not formal. Because some company, I'll give you one actual experience, is that this company, a previous employer of mine, when they asked me to join them, we needed to start a talent and development program. So to my mind, the HR manager was asking me to start the department, do a curriculum, do the performance appraisal, do the training, pero walang separate team. Meron lang training and development, pero if you see the execution, andoon. So maybe. But why? Because if there is or there is none, or there is something that is, sabi ko nga, kneeling to or being close, something very close to may buy-in na yung management. But they see it as a cost. Pero sabi ko nga, at the end of the day, you have to do a cost-benefit analysis. Diba? Lagi kang may CBA na baon wherever you go in your decision making. Kasi at the end of the day, who's sponsoring it, one of the key things, especially if you're the HR manager or you're the proponent, I will show you the cost of attrition rate. Oh, paano yun? Kino-compute. Guys, believe me, if you're the HR manager now, it's a total headache. Okay, discuss lang muna natin yung attrition rate. Okay? So, number one, if you put a vacancy requirement sa job street, kunyari, any job board, pag sa job street, mahina ang 140,000. 114,000 a month for 30 positions for 30 days flash. Okay, so you can just imagine that. Number 2, yung bayad mo sa tao. Number 3, bayad mo sa'yo, pagtawag sa candidate, how many candidates, setting the meeting, setting the managers, and so forth. Lahat yun may cost per hour rate. Rate no HR acquisition, talent acquisition, at saka no hiring. That was already a loss because I had to devote it for her. Now, pinakamasakit sa lahat, ginastusan mo, laki ng sahod, so on and so forth, nag-resign agad. Lost. Then you have to repeat the cost again. That cost versus the talent management program, which increase your sales around 25 to 35% per year. Tell me what you are going to do. Because that's actual experience. And many studies can prove you that a successful talent management program embedded. Okay, just to settle your expectations, it's not immediate. It takes time. Pero nonetheless, the one who will make it successful is the one who is implementing through you and each and every one. It's gonna be a team effort. So, ganun kahalaga yan. Kasi at the end of the day, there's a culture of family that you have to develop. Now, take note, especially for young corporations, lalo na kung dun sa mga bagong pasok natin, okay? Na yung mga bagong pasok sa workforce, is your company doing a performance management system? If there's a performance appraisal, pag wala, medyo how-shaw ba yung sabi ko sa inyo, be very careful because at the end of the day, it is very problematic. You promote someone without a basis. You increase payment to someone without a basis. You terminate someone from your job without a basis, especially now it's pandemic. Nako, let me warn you, meron ng e-filing ngayon sa cases. So, that's gonna be very, very difficult for you. And it's very fast. Okay. Now, were you able to develop, we had the PA, kahit man lang a basic competency model where your HR or your talent management develop. Now, are you practicing talent review? Okay? So, that's a thing that you have to take note. Kasi ako, I always tell, have you identified kahit man lang the top 20 talents and have you prepared a career in development? Kasi yung mga medyo, you cannot always solve, low performance, terminate the guy. Kanina, balikan natin yung cost ng attrition. Pag wala ng pag-asa, sige, terminate mo. Pagka may pag-asa, bakit ba? Kasi baka mas costly. Yan ang nasabi ko lagi sa mga HR managers natin. Lalo na doon sa mga department heads natin, doon sa for government, there's already meron naman CSR dyan, so walang problema dyan. But for private companies, it's a very difficult and costly thing. Okay? And then, is the rewards management as a form of motivation. Rewards in terms of promotion, rewards in terms of salary increase, and then ganyan. Again, career and training as a reward. Okay, so that's it. Baka they want to grow. Baka they feel stagnant. So that's the one of the so many reasons there then. And then you have the 10-20 rule. Okay, in development. So few practices this one. So sa top 20, lagi ko sinasabi sa mga ano natin, sa clients natin, sa mga department heads, sa mga HR managers, when was the last time you exercised the 20-20 rule in development? Top 10 and 20 practice. Top 10 persons muna. Let's go to the persons. Top 10, top 20 persons. 10, 20. 10 for the leadership program. The first 10 of the 20 persons, are they candidate for a leadership program or a development program that will succeed eventually the top guns, or at least middle management in the case. And then the 20 are your supervisors. Bakit? These top 20 performing guys is the reason they get 80% of the goods out from your company. So, they produce 80% of the goods. So, sabi nga, Pareto rule yan, 10-20. Diba? The top 20% does the 80% of the job. So, hindi lang sa time management nag-a-apply yung Pareto rule, pati sa talent development at saka sa output. So, I would suggest you review. Okay. We'll discuss more on that and how do you compute that in the full course. So it will reserve that because it's very technical. And then at least if you have the 10-20 rule there, even with your current workforce, you can now predetermine. Ang ano lang dyan, kailangan maganda yung talent map na tinatawag. Okay. And then, last question is, do you have a separate team for training and development, if not at least the program itself? Kasi at least, sabi nga, at the end of the day, a ship without a course just strays away in the ocean. So, pag wala kayong separate team to handle all of this thinking for you, or is there a training and development for you, or more importantly, the program itself, execution will be much more easier when the plan is already secured. Sabi nga, general rule, when you have a concrete plan, you have already solved 50% of the problem. So that's how critical your plan is. Now, does it need to be perfect? The answer is no. There is no perfect plan, but there are plans that has been tested. Do not change the goal, just change how you do it, to how you will reach the goal. Ganon ang purpose ng plan sa talent development, no? Sa talent management. If you want to reach the highest, greatest output, you have to also learn while executing. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng plano pag execute mo walang aberya. No, that's not gonna happen. These are people. We're talking about people. We're talking about processes. We're talking about interventions implemented at different levels. Kasi it may be true to one, but not at all. So that's how critical it is. So, just for my last slide, and just to share with you. So, why do you need and how to build your talent management strategy? Number one, and the most important question to any practitioner, is sinasabi ko, know what is your talent management strategy for. Bakit mo siya kailangan? Kasi nonetheless, if it's not for output, it's not for retention, you'll go astray. Diba? Ang purpose mo nga is to have a good purpose of continuity. And then, at the end of the day, you should always measure results. Okay? Bakit? Para you know where you're getting at. Sabi nga, the travel may be long, but inch by inch, it will not be a cinch because I am moving forward. If you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, well, gapang, back crawl. But at least you're moving forward. That's talent management. And then, Assign responsibilities. No man is an island. You'll have to delegate. You'll have to give roles. Okay, because managers are responsible for their supervisors, supervisors are responsible for their rank and files, to their direct reports. Kasi ang mahalaga, they know, they are involved, they have a buy-in. Kasi at the end of the day, everyone has to communicate. And like any other car, you need four wheels. You miss one, the car won't run properly. It may do so move forward, but it will fall through an accident. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. My name is Max Flores. That's my personal number. If you have any questions, please drop it to our chat box. I'll try to answer my best. And then, thank you. So, okay, sino po? Rizal. Manny Surigao. So, good morning yan. I'll stop sharing now. Stop. Okay, I'll leave the floor to our admin. Okay. Presentation, I can manage. Naman, can you text your email po? Who's asking? Who's requesting po? Please, any questions, please? Wala po. Mm-hmm. HR report, Gmail. Take note of that. That's Miss Herna, tama? Okay, sige, i-take note na lang namin. Admin, please, can you make a summary for all those emails and then send it to me? O kaya ano na lang, tawag dito, sa'yo ko i-send yung ano, sa'yo ko i-send yung data, yung presentation. Mm-hmm. Okay, any other question? I'm sorry about the blurred one. Because we preserve everything in PDF, so I had to cut it out. So sorry, I'm sorry about that. But we'll share you a clear copy once we have the summary of the emails. Ipapa-transfer ko na lang, utos ko na lang sa secretary ko mamaya. Okay, fan food. Now, just to also share with you, micro position. Wow, thank you for attending. Okay, I'm sure no one's asking a question. uh, okay, you have already my email and our email and personal number. Okay, guys, um, especially for those HR guys, I would greatly encourage you to enroll at the full course, lalo na yung DDS natin, Developing Supervisory Skills on May 3. Parallel kasi siya. So, it's very important that you know the interventions presented in the DDS on May 3 on Monday. And then our full course now, I hope you can invite your executives if you have time. On June 1, meron tayong 9 to 12. We'll show all the technicalities there. Para ano lang dyan. Yung competency framework, there's a question here. Competency framework, we have a separate lecturer dyan. But if you're asking for a consultancy, please find time to call me na lang today. I don't want to intervene doon sa ating subject matter expert on the profiling. But although I have my own in respect to our fellow SME, I would encourage you to enroll under her. Pero details of the full course, is your email there, Miss Margarita Bauyon? Sige, I'll take note of that. Once they send me the full once they send to me the summary of the emails, Miss Margarita. Okay, please register again. Please register dun sa ating full course on June 1. And the DDS, the Developing Supervisory Skills on May 3. Andun po yung ating mga intervention programs. Part of it is the coaching, especially the coaching and the mentoring part. Tapos yung ating mga technical tools. Andun na po yun. Especially the delegation. We put emphasis on that. Okay, Sir Mavs. This is about the competency rate. Do you have a standard time to conduct reassessment? Okay, just to answer lang po, do you have a standard time for reassessment? Well, as a normal practice in the Philippine practice, it is annual. Now, just to answer the question lang and to give you the legal and the proper HR practice is this way. No? Number one, you have to take note in your jurisdiction what makes a position regularized. If it's 6 months, well and good. Now, in my practice, what I noticed, especially in the Singapore and the Hong Kong jurisdiction, mapapansin mo 3 months pa lang meron na. Pero what's measured is the behavioral aspect. Is this guy, is this girl behaviorally and morally fit to further continue the work? Yeah, kasi yung technical aspect will be measured on the 5th month, especially if you're the Philippines jurisdiction, because it's behavior and technical skills. Because 6 months and 1 day, they're legally regular already. Okay, now incorporating the timeline from 0 to 6 months, and then you have now the 1 year or the 12 month. Remember, sa batas again, if you're very technical about it, on the 1st year, they're given a 5-day service incentive leave being there for service. Paabutin mo ba doon? So, kaya after that, normally for purposes of the next performance appraisal cycle, I normally recommend to our clients na do a PA a month before on the 12th month. Bakit kamo? Kasi it now serves, even if it's not the formal PA, it now serves as your basis for salary increase for the next performance appraisal. Bakit? Kasi merong mga in-between na ma-hire. So, if you're an HR practitioner, your worry is baka magselos yung mga ibang empleyado. Or kung meron ka ng policy, well and good. Pero ang tanong ko, may policy ka ba na na-hire something in between? Or nare-regular in between? Remember, in other jurisdictions, there are contracts that when you get on board, you're regular already. So that's very technical also. Onboarding pa lang, recruitment process, very, very technical na tayo in terms of what interventions we do. Kaya yung reassessment, una, lagi ko nire-recommend, it would be safe for you to do it semi-annually. Pero you have to have something in between, and it's incorporated in your employees code of conduct, in your policies and procedures, in your implementing rules and regulations, depending on what semantics you're using. So that's very for you. So, okay, we'll do that the senators. Okay, we'll wait for the details. Again, if no more questions, everyone, thank you. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for the opportunity. In behalf of my Limitless Power Coach family, we thank you all. I hope you can enroll in our intervention programs, especially our full courses. Also, if you have time for those HR practitioners, pala, I forgot to mention. We have a full course somewhere in July. I just forget the exact date for personal branding of the CEO and the HR. It's a systems approach po. We're applying the 2021 studies we have. June 22 po. June 22 yung aming programa for the personal branding of the CEO and HR. I'm incorporating our April 2021 study. Okay, so like yung nakita nyo kanina, our talent management program is incorporating the 2021 study already of the Asia Pacific and Europe. So ganun tayo ka-updated. So if you have the time, please enroll. Please enroll for the DDS, for the talent management, and for the personal branding. It's gonna be very critical for your recruitment process, especially for the execution of your CEO. So with that, thank you very much. If no more questions, please drop us a message. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.